The Art of Persuasion, Rhetorical Strategies. Pathos, ethos, logos. Pathos is all about appealing to emotions or feelings to convince. You might rely on a passionate or enthusiastic delivery, trying to evoke audience responses such as laughter, fear, or nostalgia. You might utilize techniques like figurative language, anecdotes, or humor. Look at the ad on the left. That's an example of pathos because you're trying to elicit a sympathetic response from your audience. So they buy your dog food. Next up is ethos. This is about establishing your credibility and ethics to make your case. You might reference your own personal qualifications. You might reference an expert or celebrity endorsement. You might utilize religious allusion to imply your morality. You could experiment with vocabulary or pronouns to convey expertise or a sense of your relatability. The ad on the left right there is an example of ethos because you're spotlighting a celebrity endorsement to show your product is trustworthy. Last, logos. This is appealing to logic and reason. You depend on a variety of objective evidence rather than emotion. You might include things such as specific examples, historical context, statistics, or expert opinion. You might utilize counter-argument or compare-contrast to show an understanding of multiple points of view. Look at the truck ad on the left. That's logos. You see statistics, you see graphs. Now let's look at your very own Deity Rhetoric project. This is coming up. Here's an overview and some assignment details. Now, we just saw the Monkey King clash with 4 deities in the chapter we just read. The Dragon King, Lao Tzu, Yama, and the Jade Emperor. Here's our project objective. Students will be able to create a persuasive presentation using rhetorical strategies to argue one of these deities being the greatest. So you get to pick, choose either the Dragon King, Lao Tzu, Yama, or the Jade Emperor. It's your choice. What you need, a cover slide. So which deity are you saying is the greatest? That should be on your opening slide. Then you should have 2 additional slides. These are your rhetorical strategy slides. Each of these slides should be devoted to a particular rhetorical strategy. Pathos, ethos, or logos. You need to pick 2 out of those 3. Each of your rhetorical strategy slides should have about 2 to 3 bullet points. I'm going to provide you the template for your project, so I'll give you the Google Slides. You pick any 2 out of those 3, pathos, ethos, logos, that you want, and you can just delete the extra slide you're not using. If you want a refresher, you can go back to the classwork packet, you can rewatch this video, or you can go to the English Basics 1-pager to look at the rhetorical strategies again. Now, let's see an example. Here's a presentation that I made making the case for Babe Ruth being the greatest athlete of all time. Now, obviously, you're not talking about athletes, you're talking about deities, but you'll still be using the same strategies here for rhetoric, and your slides themselves for the project are pretty much going to be the exact same templates that you're about to see right here. So first up, pathos. This means using emotions or feelings to make your case. So right here, I'd have a slide just talking about Babe Ruth, how he really transcended his sport and how he became a legendary, almost mythic figure. Right down to the quote at the top, showing him as this larger than life guy, even down to the picture right there, trying to evoke a sense of nostalgia. It's a painting. Next up, we have ethos. This is about establishing credibility or ethics. So I would spotlight some endorsements that I have, how some industry experts universally hail him as the greatest ball player ever. Even his teammates and opponents regarded him as the greatest they ever played with or against. And then to build up my own sense of credibility, I would talk about the fact that I was a sports writer for the Dorchester Reporter, and I've spent countless hours, more than I'd like to admit, researching this topic. And even the quote at the top right there, it's an example of a teammate talking about how he is the greatest ever. Lastly, logos. This is all about statistics or logic and reasoning to make your case. So right here, you see a bunch of stats. Here's my body slide right here. And along with statistics that you saw, I would use historical context and counter argument right here. So really, I'd be attacking some other athletes that people might say are the greatest of all time. For instance, I might say, you know what? Everybody's a prisoner of the moment when they're talking about Tom Brady and Michael Jordan. Babe Ruth has records that still stand today, nearly 100 years later. Can you imagine Tom Brady's records lasting 100 years? Come talk to me then. Also, I talk about the historical context right here. Back in the day, Babe Ruth, his yearly home run totals accounted for about 6% of all the home runs hit in baseball. To do that now, the equivalent would be like a hitter smashing 200 plus homers in a single season. Ridiculous. Or could you imagine Michael Jordan averaging 100 points per game over a full season? That's trying to give you a little bit of perspective. Lastly, I might try to say, you know what? He's not given enough credit for the total player that he really is. How a lot of people just think of him as this fat home run hitter, see the quote at the top, and that really doesn't do justice to the total player that he was. He hit for average. He possessed speed. He was a strong fielder. And perhaps most compelling, he was the best left-handed pitcher in baseball before transitioning to become a hitter. Now that's important for my counter argument because I might make the case, hey, not only was he a Hall of Fame level hitter and probably the best ever, but he was a Hall of Fame caliber pitcher. So for Tom Brady to be considered on that same level, he would have to be a Hall of Fame caliber wide receiver as well as a quarterback. Okay, I just made the case for Babe Ruth being the greatest athlete of all time using pathos, ethos, and logos. Last thing I'll show you really quick for your own presentation, as far as citations go, look at the bottom right here, okay? You can just copy and paste URLs that you find any information on, copy and paste them right here at the bottom. You do not need to make a bibliography or works cited page or anything like that. You don't need to have in-text citations in the body of your slide. Just copy and paste your URLs right into the bottom here. I cannot wait to see your work as you make your own case for your deity being the best.